She was once the wife of the most powerful man in Hollywood. 3 years later, she was committed to a mental hospital. At the age of 88, Dame Cannon finally revealed the shocking truth behind the door of the luxurious mansion that the whole world once admired. Cary Grant, the perfect icon on screen, was actually an emotional manipulator in real life. LSD, absolute control, mental violence, and an obsession called love turned a marriage into a lifelong nightmare. What was never told is now confirmed. Cary Grant is widely regarded as the most charismatic gentleman in Hollywood history.
Let's mix where Rockefellers walk with sticks or umbrellas in their midst.
I idealize them. Every woman I meet, I put up there. Of course, the longer I know her, the better I know her.
Yes, it's hard to keep them up there, isn't it?
Yes, isn't it?
Pretty soon the pedestal will wobble.
But behind that calm and composed exterior was a man with a penchant for harsh control, mental instability, and long-term emotional abuse of his only wife, Dame Cannon, who bore him children. Their marriage, which lasted from 1965 to 1968, left an indelible mark in memoirs and in first-hand accounts from Dame Cannon as she turned 88. In a recent interview, Cannon asserted, "Cary made me believe that loving him meant completely losing who I was." Under the guise of thoughtfulness, Grant imposed strict rules of control on her daily living space. He demanded that Cannon change the way she dressed, spoke, arranged her belongings, and even greeted the maids. According to Cannon, he listed every detail he considered inappropriate, such as leaving her water glass without a coaster on the table or being too friendly with the mailman. One of the main means Grant used to impose his will on his wife was LSD therapy, which he saw as a tool to heal his childhood trauma. He had taken LSD more than 100 times under medical supervision in the 1950s, and believed the experience helped him release pent-up emotions. But for Dame Cannon, LSD was what sent her into a psychotic spiral. Grant convinced her to take LSD in an attempt to save her marriage. Nonetheless, the experience backfired. During one session, Cannon suffered from severe hallucinations, lost control of her behavior, and was hospitalized in a state of mental instability. "I didn't see the light, I just felt myself sinking," she recalled in her memoir, and Cary called it healing. The control continued during her pregnancy and after the birth of their daughter Jennifer in 1966. Grant by then retired from acting, spent all his time at home, not to share, but to continue to dominate. He criticized her every move, took note of everything that displeased him, and channeled his own insecurities into harsh criticism. In an incident confirmed by Dame Cannon, Grant beat her in front of her maid when she refused to continue her LSD treatment. The incident was not reported in the press at the time, but left psychological scars that lasted for years. Grant had no extramarital affairs during his marriage to Cannon, but that did not mean peace. Every day became a psychological ordeal, with Cannon dealing with mood swings and irrational anger. "I used to spend the night thinking about what would set him off tomorrow," she recalled. The divorce was granted in 1968, with Grant gaining primary custody of their daughter. Dame Cannon, then 31, suffered a severe mental breakdown and was hospitalized for months. "The marriage shattered me in every way, emotionally, in my identity, in my confidence, in my self-esteem," she wrote. The marriage did not end in public controversy or media scandal, but what happened inside was more brutal than anything Hollywood had ever seen. As she put it, "We lived behind a high, thick wall. From the outside, everything was glamorous. From the inside, I lost myself." Cary Grant was born Archibald Alexander Leach in 1904 in Bristol, England. His childhood was marked by deep family trauma that later became the source of many controlling behaviors and instability in personal relationships. At the age of 9, his mother Elsie Leach was committed to a psychiatric facility for severe depression. The family did not tell him the truth. Instead, he was led to believe that she had died. It was not until he was 31 that Grant discovered that she was still alive. According to those close to him, the shock left a lasting scar on his psyche, leading to a constant cynicism and fear of abandonment in his later relationships. Grant arrived in the United States in the early 1920s, starting his career in vaudeville and on Broadway before becoming a familiar face on Hollywood screens in the 1930s. He officially adopted the stage name Cary Grant in 1931 when he signed a contract with Paramount Pictures. With his handsome looks, elegant manners, and distinctive voice, he quickly became a typical gentleman sought after in a variety of film genres. Nonetheless, Grant's real-life persona was completely different from his on-screen persona. According to his retirement and LSD-fueled therapy sessions, he often described himself as someone who felt out of place, searching for a form of emotional stability that he never achieved. In therapy, he mentioned his fear of not being in control of his own life, which led him to develop behaviors that he imposed on his partners as a defense mechanism. In 1958, he began medically supervised psychotherapy using LSD, a practice common in Hollywood at the time. Grant believed that LSD helped him take off his mask and get in touch with his true self. In several interviews, he admitted that the process changed the way he viewed personal relationships. Nonetheless, experts who observed the period concluded that LSD may have exacerbated controlling tendencies and increased feelings of internal instability. Grant was not embroiled in public scandal during a career spanning more than 3 decades, but his personal behavior was noted by those close to him as contradictory and inconsistent. He was able to maintain a near-perfect public image while having difficulty interacting privately. Grant had 5 marriages, all of which ended in divorce, except for the last, which lasted until his death. His relationship with his only daughter, Jennifer Grant, was a rare exception to his private life. After retiring, Grant devoted much of his time to caring for his daughter, demonstrating an active fatherly role. In legal documents after their divorce, he requested full custody to ensure a stable, controlled environment. Jennifer later confirmed that her father was strict but caring closely, following every step of her development, from her studies to her personal life. Grant's career ended completely when he retired from the film industry at the age of 62. He did not participate in any subsequent artistic projects, declined all invitations, and maintained a low-key schedule. His legacy was tightly managed through family trusts and charities, reflecting a desire for control that lasted until the end of his life. Throughout his adult life and careers, Cary Grant developed 2 distinct identities, a public one and a private one. His life with Dame Cannon took place entirely within the latter, where his standards, expectations, and fears were most pronounced beyond any moral or emotional boundaries. This explains why the marriage that was so publicly celebrated as a Hollywood icon was in fact the most traumatic period of a woman's life. 3 short years. The relationship between Cary Grant and Dame Cannon began in 1961 after Grant approached Cannon through a television crew. At that time, he was at the height of his fame as Hollywood's #1 gentleman, and Cannon was a young prospect just starting out in television and theater. The 33-year age gap did not initially pose a barrier. On the contrary, Grant saw this as an opportunity to shape his ideal partner according to personal standards that had been established many years earlier. The courtship lasted more than 2 years, with Grant controlling the frequency of interactions. By early 1965, the wedding took place in Las Vegas in private, without the media. At the time of the wedding, Grant was 61 years old, while Cannon was only 28. The marriage was established on the basis of detailed conditions set by Grant regarding family life privacy and planning for a common life. In 1966, Diane Cannon gave birth to their first and only daughter, Jennifer Grant. Having a child did not go according to the original plan. Grant had made it clear that he did not want to have children after the age of 60. Nonetheless, when Cannon became pregnant, he changed his stance, accepted the role of father, and re-established the entire family structure in a one-way way in which he retained absolute decision-making power. After Jennifer was born, Grant stopped all his artistic activities to spend all his time at home. Nonetheless, time with family was not shared, but was associated with total monitoring and control of the living environment. Diane Cannon was required to follow a detailed system of principles, including living time child-rearing methods, outside relationships, and behavioral procedures in each situation. The divorce was filed in early 1968. During the proceedings, Cary Grant requested full custody of his daughter, which the court granted in large part. Diane Cannon agreed to relinquish primary custody after several unsuccessful hearings. Records show that at that time she had not fully recovered from her psychiatric treatment and was not considered capable of providing a stable environment for the children. After their divorce, Grant and Cannon cut off all personal contact for nearly a decade. During the post-divorce period, the two did not participate in any joint activities related to their daughter assets or media. Financial transactions and post-marital benefits were handled through lawyers reflecting the irreconcilable rift between the two parties. The media at the time reported the divorce with caution. The internal details were only revealed years later in Diane Cannon's memoirs and personal interviews. Every day of those 3 years built up a crack, and when it finally collapsed, it not only destroyed the relationship, but also my very notion of who I was, Cannon said. After 1968, Diane Cannon withdrew from the entertainment industry for a short time. She began intensive psychotherapy and began rebuilding her personal life in the mid-1970s. Meanwhile, Cary Grant continued to maintain a public image, limiting his appearances in the press, and spending most of his time caring for his daughter in a separate environment he had established. The period 1965 and 1968 became a pivotal time in the personal histories of both men. For Cannon, it was a period of lasting trauma, and for Grant, it was a period when he exercised the fullest control over his private life without outside interference. The end of this marriage did not come through a property dispute or a noisy media reaction, but through prolonged silence, radical withdrawal, and psychological consequences that lasted for many years. Memoirs and forgiveness. After nearly half a century of silence from the press and the public, Diane Cannon began to publicly share about her marriage with Cary Grant through official means. In 2011, she released her memoir, Dear Cary, My Life, with Cary Grant marking the first time her personal experiences related to her relationship with the actor were systematically and officially recreated. The work is not simply a personal report, but is considered a valuable reference document for psychological research on power relationships in the classic entertainment industry. In her memoir, Cannon describes the complex emotional stages from her early marriage to her divorce, but she chooses to present them in a restrained tone, focusing on the systemic nature of her behavior rather than on her emotional exploits. She does not make defamatory accusations, but instead analyzes Grant's behavior in the context of his childhood trauma and unresolved personal experiences. Many passages in the book reflect Cannon's use of objective descriptive language, refraining from making judgments while withholding some important details that she felt were not appropriate to disclose. After the memoir was published, Cannon received widespread critical acclaim, but she maintained a distance from the media. It was only in 2023 when she co-produced the miniseries Archie, a television biopic of Cary Grant's life. with her daughter Jennifer Grant, that she began to openly discuss the deeper aspects of her marriage and its lasting effects. In interviews, promoting Archie Cannon stated that making the film was healing and provided a form of emotional closure for her. "I didn't tell it all in the book," she asserted, "partly because I wasn't ready, partly because I had respect for the dead." The period from 2023 to this year is noted as the time when Dame Cannon became more public than previously hidden content. In a panel discussion with the California Film Institute, she specifically mentioned the emotional dependence she experienced, while also acknowledging the lingering effects of using LSD under the influence of Cary Grant. Cannon said that being put on LSD was not an active choice, but rather an act of suggestion from someone who had a strong influence on her at the time. She analyzed the experience as a factor that led to her long-term psychological instability, and partly to the failure of her marriage to maintain a stable foundation. But she also made it clear that her assessment was not intended to be accusatory, but rather to pinpoint the root causes of the breakdown. "I don't write for revenge," Cannon said at a media conference. "I write to understand what happened, and to understand myself in it." In addition to recreating details of her own life, Cannon used the last years of her life as a period of emotional reframing of Grant's memory and legacy. She accompanied her daughter on memorial services, assisted in the restoration process, and served as a content consultant on the Archie television project. By reimagining Grant not only as a historical figure, but also as someone who had lived her life deeply, Dame Cannon chose an approach that was not based on hatred, but on personal awareness. In the post-memoir period, she also regularly attended mental health seminars, sharing her experiences of overcoming inner crises and encouraging women to protect emotional boundaries in relationships. In recent conversations, Cannon has made it clear that her announcements were not intended to stir controversy, but to redefine herself, not just as Cary Grant's ex-wife, but as an individual with her own experiences, voice, and upbringing. This period closes a cycle that has lasted nearly 6 decades, from silence to publicity, from crisis to balance. At the end of this journey, Dame Cannon no longer stands in the shadow of a cinematic legend, but emerges as an independent entity clear about his own values and limitations. Alone, but not lonely. This year, Dame Cannon turns 88, independent, sober, and in control of her personal life, a stark contrast to the image of a woman who was dominated by her marriage to Cary Grant nearly 6 decades ago. Cannon maintains a regular residence in Beverly Hills, participates in the management of several foundations supporting senior female artists, and also serves as a content consultant for film products that explore the themes of family psychology, power in marriage, and women after divorce. She appears in seminars on post-crisis mental health, using her own experiences as evidence of the ability to reestablish life values after prolonged personal turmoil. Her presence in the public sphere has remained consistent through television platforms, podcasts, and professional forums. Cannon is not only a featured figure, but also takes part in organizing, producing, and managing content for programs with educational elements, especially those focused on emotional skills and family communication. She collaborates with her daughter Jennifer Grant on publishing a guide for post-divorce parent-child interaction, and co-edits a project documenting the memories of women who were closely connected to influential figures in the entertainment industry. Until now, Cannon will continue to serve as honorary executive producer on Archie, a television series that explores Cary Grant's life from a personal perspective. She will work with the writing team to ensure a balance between reenactment and fidelity to real-life experiences. In doing so, she will directly manage the integration of documentary-quality details, allowing the audience to approach the truth in a rigorous but unbiased way. In addition to his professional work, Cannon is the lead character in a documentary project currently in production, focusing on the process of emotional recovery from marital trauma in older adults. The project is being produced by an independent team of directors in New York, with technical support from medical and applied psychology associations. Cannon also maintains a steady writing habit. She is currently completing the manuscript of her second book, scheduled for release in late 2026, which will focus on redefining love aging and consensual relationships in modern society. Today, Cannon maintains a healthy lifestyle, has her own medical support team, and is actively involved in community service. She is also developing an online mentoring program for women who have experienced psychologically abusive marriages, aimed at building resilience and long-term personal growth. The story of Dame Cannon and Cary Grant is not only a remarkable slice of Hollywood history, but also a testament to the journey of reclaiming one's own voice after years of being overshadowed by the spotlight. At 88, she not only recounts her past, but also redefines herself, clear, strong, and uncompromising. If you feel like this story touches on something deeper than the sensational headlines, please give it a like to support in-depth content like this. Don't forget to share this video with anyone who needs a real and courageous look at relationships, the past, and recovery. And if you want more real stories to come, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment below to join the conversation.